Alrighty, welcome to Cole's Garage. Today we're going to be doing a top end, just a piston swap on the 2023 KTM 300SX. The process will be the same for any 23 or newer KTM 2-stroke, including the 125, 150, 250, and 300. This also applies to the XC models as well. First thing we're going to do, remove the seat, disconnect the battery, remove the fuel tank, remove the exhaust. Catch you in a second.
You ready to flip it off?
Always put your hardware, just thread it in by hand where it goes. If you can't, keep it in a parts tray, just keep her organized. Now to disconnect the battery. Always do this step before you do anything else. Alrighty, seat off, battery disconnected. You can't take the battery out like this. You do have to remove the fuel tank, but we're not going to take the battery out anyways. Remove the fuel tank, undo electrical clip, undo the quick release fuel line, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 8mm bolts. Take those all out and the fuel tank and the shrouds will come off as one piece. Alright, now that the fuel tank's off, we're going to remove the exhaust. It's going to be 2 8mm right there, a couple 8mm there, and of course the springs. Everything will slide off real nice. Alright, now that we got the exhaust off, we're going to drain the coolant. Take the cap off, and then drain bolt for the coolant's right there. We'll empty it all out. Once it's well drained, then you take the bleeder screw off and it'll drain even more. And then, once that is done, we'll start removing the hoses, spark plug, wiring, and everything, getting ready to lift the cylinder. Alrighty, we got the coolant drained. Some of our radiator hoses disconnected. We're going to disconnect the temperature sensor, disconnect these rad hoses, disconnect the coil pack, take the spark plug out, and then we will move on to removing the power valve actuator. Now, if you have not yet disconnected your battery, you must absolutely disconnect that before you take this off. Otherwise, your bike will not run right, it'll throw codes, just a complete mess. So disconnect the battery, then disconnect that. Then reconnect that, and only when this is reconnected and reinstalled do you reconnect the battery. Here we go. Alrighty, now that we have all the rad hoses off, all the sensors disconnected, what we are going to do is remove the cover after removing the clips for the wiring harness here. And we're not even going to unplug it, we're just going to take it out, swing it up, put it out of the way. This is the fastest way if you're just doing a piston. Alrighty, this one bolt right here holds the power valve actuator cover on. We're just going to remove the other 2 bolts. It just pulls straight out. And this plug, we're just going to leave that plugged in. Even though we have our battery disconnected, we could unplug that if we want, but there's no need. Just take it off, lay it up to the side out of the way. Alrighty, and next, those 2 bolts just get threaded back into their holes. We're going to remove both engine mounts. These take a T45, and then we are also going to unplug our crankcase pressure sensor, and after both engine mounts are off, we're going to move on to removing the head. Alrighty, so on the head bolts here, what we're going to do is we're going to go in a star pattern, and we're just going to crack it loose. So we'll go here, 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 here. You just crack them loose. Once they're all loose, then you can go ahead and run them all off. So I'll just show how that's done. We'll just go a little bit like so. That's loose. So we'll go to the other side. Do the same thing here. Oop. Just go about a quarter turn. Just like so. And last one here. Alright, now that they're all loose, we're going to go ahead and just run them all out, and we'll take the head off. All right, and with all the bolts removed, it should come off pretty easy. Might have to give it a tap with the ratchet handle. There we go. Came loose there. Come off. That's the dome. That usually comes off separately. Don't worry about that. So set this over here on our workbench, and then we will remove the dome as well. If this one's stubborn coming off, that's normal. Just grab the old spark plug. Thread it all the way in by hand. Just pop it off. There we go. Alrighty, now it's time to take the jug off. So 13mm wrench, same thing as the head. You're just gonna crack them loose by about a quarter turn and go across, and then side to side across again. Get them all loose, go around another quarter turn until they're all loose, and then you can thread them off. The piston is nearly at the top here. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna kick it into gear and rotate the tire to get the piston at the bottom, and then we can lift the jug all the way off. Alrighty, we have these two nuts off. Now these you won't be able to run all the way off because the power valve cover gets in the way. Same thing on the other side. Don't worry, just thread as far as you can, and then you lift the jug up slightly and you can finish threading it off the rest of the way. Alrighty, we got the piston down in the bottom of the stroke, so let's see if we can do this one-handed. Might have to have my camera lady come film for me.
Call, tell myself.
Now the exhaust flange will get caught on the frame there. You can just tilt it back, not a big deal. Lift it free and clear of the piston. Bring it on out. There we go. Alrighty. Now I always put a little bit of grease on my gaskets before I put them on, so they come off nice and easy. But
listen up, guys. This is a great
tip. If you have paper,
it's literally already pulling off. You're not having to scrape on your case and worry about nicking it.
yeah, paper gaskets, put just a dab of grease on the whole gasket, and when you go to change it, it'll come off nice and easy. Cleaning the case off will be super easy. You don't have to use a scraper. You don't have to worry about nicking it. So when you go back on with these base gaskets, put a little bit of grease, you'll be just fine. Our piston looks amazing. 50 hours on that mug. Obviously we could have gone longer, but preemptive maintenance is better than blowing the motor up. Right, Cole?
What's that?
Said preemptive maintenance is better than blowing the motor up. Alright, now very important for piston removal, we're going to remove the circlips in there. Stuff some rags in your case, because you do not want that circlip falling in down there. You will end up having to remove the motor and split the case to get it out. It'll be a very bad day. Now as you can see, I got the easy clips. You can get them from Slavens Racing. They're much easier to remove and install than traditional circlips. All you need is some needle-nose pliers to compress them and take them out, but make sure you wear eye protection and keep a thumb over it at all times, because when those things let go, they go flying and they can take an eye out. Now you don't have to take both circlips out. We took the one on the other side. We'll just push the pin out that direction and then you can remove the piston. Alrighty, now it is inspection time. This crank was rebuilt at 84 hours. We have 130 hours on the bike now, so this crank will probably get rebuilt once we do our next top end. As you can see, I did replace the rod with the older style 300 rod from ProRex that has the two small oiling holes. It's a much stronger rod. Now, on these, side-to-side play is normal. You want to have zero perceptible up and down play, and this one has none, which is fantastic. We're going to put our rags back in the case, we're going to clean the last little bit of gasket off. It should come off super easy. Gaskets came off super easy. And then we are going to start getting ready to go all back together. And we're going to show you how to measure the base gaskets, get those set up, measure piston ring gap and all that stuff. And we're also going to inspect our cylinder really quick. Now this is the original cylinder. It has not been replated, nothing's been done to it. If you preemptively replace your pistons and have your pistons appropriately sized, you can run these cylinders for hundreds and hundreds of hours without issue. As you can see on the camera, we have real nice cross-hatching, no marks at all on the inside. Replacing a piston is a whole lot cheaper than replacing or replating a cylinder. So there we go, guys. We're going to pull these O-rings off and pull the covers off the power valve, clean it all out, get ready to go back together. Now guys, to clean this off, we're just going to use some brake clean and some Scotch-Brite very lightly. It'll come right off because we greased our gaskets before going on. If you have trouble, you can use one of these razor scrapers. You have to be extraordinarily careful to keep this flush with the surface so you don't nick the surface as you scrape it, but we don't need to do that this time around, so we're just going to hit it with a very light dusting of Scotch-Brite. It'll remove the little remnants of gasket, be nice and clean, and be ready to go back together. Alright, just some random things you may find. We did have a very small base gasket leak around this stud, so we're cleaning up the rust on the threads, cleaning up the gasket around it. That's nothing to worry about, guys. Just keep an eye out, make sure it's really clean, and it'll seal up nice and last a long time. Alright, there's what a clean case looks like. You will see it's not perfectly shiny. That's fine. That's actually staining in the case. In fact, like right there, you can see numbers, part number from the base gasket imprinted in there, but that is not an issue. It will seal up just fine. Now we're going to do the same thing for the cylinder, which we have over here. And again, a lot of this is just staining in the bottom of the cylinder, but we're going to give it just a very light brushing with the Scotch-Brite to clean it up, and then we'll be good to go. Alrighty, we are going to measure the thickness of the base gasket that came off of it and then match it on the new base gasket. Now I know that this base gasket is two sandwich gaskets. It's a 30 micrometer and a 25 micrometer combined, so that makes it 55 micrometers. But what you do, you just measure it with the micrometer and match it. The gasket kits come with a variety of base gaskets of various thickness. This is very important. If you change the thickness, you will change your port timing and your compression ratio, so be aware of that. Alrighty, next thing we're going to do is check the ring gap, and we have our spec here, which says minimum ring gap size per inch of bore. This is a 72 millimeter bore, so we convert that to inches, multiply it by the ring gap size, and that will tell you the gap that the ring should be. And now how you measure it is we take the ring, you're going to orientate it in the bore roughly in the direction that it goes. I know that these rings face backwards towards the carburetor, and then you take the piston and you push it down about ½ an inch so it's nice and level. And then take feeler gauges, measure the gap. You want the feeler gauge to drag as it goes through, but not be tight, and then that'll be the correct measurement. And then if you need to file some off, usually make 1 or 2 passes with the file maximum, remeasure. Do that for the second ring, and then install the rings on the piston, and we'll show you that in a second. Alrighty, so we got our piston ring in there. There is a marking on it that says in, that faces upwards. We're just gonna square it up with the new piston. We take our feeler gauge and see if we can drag it through the gap, which we can. And you want it to drag just a little bit, but not be tight, and then you got your spec correct. These are ready to go on the piston. We did pick out our base gasket. That is 55 microns or micrometers right there, so that'll be going on as well. And we're just about ready to start going back together. Alrighty. Got the piston installed and got the circlips in. I didn't film that because, let's be honest, they're really hard. It requires like meditation, a completely silent room, and 4 hands, and a little bit of luck to get those puppies in. Because I made the mistake, I didn't order the easy clips this time, so I just had the traditional circlips, but we got them in. We're going to make sure our piston rings are oriented on the piston ring stops so they don't rotate. We're going to lower the crank to the bottom of its stroke, and then we're going to drop the cylinder on it. Here we go. I'll move to the other side so I don't have to deal with the stator wires there. But
So where are we at here?
well, we got the piston on. We got the little arrow supposed to point towards the exhaust side or point towards the front.
Anyway, we'll move your hand. We'll focus in on that. He's not moving his hand. There we go. There's the arrow pointed towards the front of the bike.
Piston's coated in 2-stroke oil. The cylinder's coated in 2-stroke oil. Gotta maneuver this mug in here. And got one piston on, or one ring on.
What are you doing right now?
2 rings on.
Are you squeezing the piston rings to make sure that they don't break when trying to enter into the cylinder?
I was squeezing the piston rings to get the cylinder to slide over them. If you have to, it should just slide on real easy. If you have to force it, you have a piston ring out of alignment. So it's sliding real nice. I'm gonna go ahead and set it down on
And
the
it
base gasket.
Should be that easy.
Done. All right, now we're gonna run the base nuts on and torque them down. Again, we're gonna have to lift the cylinder up slightly to slip that nut in there, but that's no issue. Here we go. Alrighty, cylinder on, got the nuts on, they're not tightened down yet. We're gonna grab the torque wrench and torque these to spec. And for these, I can just slip the wrench on there, and then we're actually able to stick the torque wrench on the end of here. Make sure you keep it at a 90-degree angle, and you can torque those to spec as well. Here we go. It's perfect. 35 Newton meters on these mugs. Oh, the whole bike's rotating. There we go. And we're going to do that all 4, then double check them. Make sure you're at a right angle like this, and you'll get an accurate torque. Alrighty, cylinder's torqued down. We have the new O-rings installed, new O-rings on the head. So we are ready to install the head, or install the dome and install the head and start torquing those down. Here we go. Alrighty, got the head on. We just ran these on finger tight. We're going to grab the torque wrench, torque them in a star pattern to spec. Alrighty, head is torqued on. We are going to install a brand new spark plug, and we're in the home stretch now. We're just going to be buttoning everything up, filling it full of coolant, firing it up. Alrighty, so we just checked the squish. What you do is you stick the solder down in here, roll the motor over, and then we measure that thickness. The spec is 1.5 millimeters for this bike, and we are right on. Here we go. Alrighty, we're gonna put the power valve actuator back on, and if you undid the battery, it should slip right back on to the spline shaft with no issue, and the bolts should all line up. Very nice. Alrighty, spark plug's in, power valve cover is on. Next we're gonna put the motor mounts in. These bolts get blue high temp Loctite. And then once we get them running by hand on both sides, we'll torque them to spec. You want to torque these to a very specific spec because this will affect the handling of your bike, because how tight these bolts are affects how rigid the frame is. Alrighty, we are back. Next step, rad hoses go on, coolant goes in, fuel tank goes back on, exhaust goes back on. Then we're going to show you a couple programming tricks to get everything ready to first start, and we'll show braking. Alright, got rad hoses on. Make sure your thermostat is orientated in the correct direction. I like to fill it all the way with coolant and then crack the bleeder open until coolant runs out, shut it, and then finish filling it the rest of the way. Of course, we'll run it for a bit with the cap off and burp the system and then top it off again. Here we go. Alright, we got it full of coolant. We're going to leave the spark cap off for now and clean all that up. When we start it up, the level will drop just a bit. Got her bled. Now we're going to replace the O-rings on the pipe and put the exhaust back on. Alrighty, got the fuel tank on. We're going to reconnect the quick disconnect fuel line here in a second. Got it all plugged back in. All of our connectors all plugged back in. We've just reconnected the battery. It is normal for it to spark a little bit. We're going to take the wake-up dongle, reset the power valve, and reset the learned throttle position. And we'll show you how to do that coming right up. All back together, ready for first start.